How's it going, film and TV fans? Welcome back to another review here on the Troubleshoot Productions YouTube channel. Today we are taking a look at the newest film from legendary director Wes Anderson, The Phoenician Scheme, starring Benicio del Toro, Michael Cera, Benedict Cumberbatch, Matthew Almeric, Bryan Cranston, Tom Hanks, Riz Ahmed, and Mia Stapleton as the cast of the film. Now, I've previously covered almost every other Wes Anderson film on this channel previously. I think the only ones I haven't covered as of yet are Asteroid City and The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar, and 3 more. Maybe I'll cover them eventually, but, you know, as those of you have very evidently stated, Wes Anderson, without a shadow of a doubt, is my favourite filmmaker. I know, as of recent, a lot of people call his movies quite stale, quite the same looking. They are visually similar to one another, but there's a certain charm to every single one of them that I think is special in the world of film. And I know, as a fact for myself, going into this movie, I had read things like this movie was booed at Cannes. Yeah, was booed at Cannes, and things like that, where I know the reviews weren't that hot off the press at the time, but reading things that people were not impressed with it, and it was just kind of, well, bad is the word they used. And I was like, okay, maybe this might be the one that might, you know, break the mold for me and kind of solidify the fact that maybe Wes is done for now. And as I have grown as a fan of film, that my Wes era, as you could call it, has come to an end, and I must move forward. But I went in, I saw the movie, and I came out, and I was like, I guess, you know, like, he never misses. Like, I ain't gonna lie to you, there's not one of his movies that has really missed that much. The weakest one, in my opinion, is Asteroid City, but even, like, you take that away, Asteroid City is still a good movie. It's just not great, and it has its issues. And again, this one is not free from the issues either, but I think there's something really, really special about this one, and as the TV spot that I've used here also claims that I think is true, this is his best film since The Grand Budapest Hotel, without a shadow of a doubt. I think people are really going to skip this film because it's just another Wes Anderson film, but I don't think you should. I think you should go and see this one. I even know for a fact this is happening because my good friend Freddie said that it didn't really kind of connect to him, and he didn't really want to go and see it, and because he thought Asteroid City was not so good. And there is that kind of unfortunate sting that Asteroid City leaves, because I think Asteroid City was a step too far. It was too Wes Anderson, whereas I think The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar and 3 more was a great example of there's still so much uniqueness left in Wes Anderson's palette. He just needed to open that door and walk through to it, and I think this movie certainly does in the world of Wes Anderson. And I think for what it's worth, I do think this film particularly highlights how fucking good an actor Benicio del Toro is, and I think this is definitely one of the best ones I've seen him in, and it's really great to see him as a lead in a Wes Anderson film. He was a very, very good part of The French Dispatch, where he plays Moses Rosenthal, and I think, while I'm not a huge fan of that specific segment in French Dispatch, I do think his character is the best part about it. But he's playing a very neutered, very kind of doesn't say much, but doesn't kind of, he doesn't have the amount of things to do as Zaza Korda does in this film. And I think it's just a great ensemble cast, as always, with Wes. I think the story here is definitely an interesting one. It feels very Wes. Obviously, to talk about Michael Cera in this movie, because as most people have very rightly said, it has been, you know, a long time coming, Michael Cera being in a Wes Anderson movie. It is kind of perfect. He is really fucking good. Our core 3 people in this movie, Michael Cera, Benicio del Toro, and Mia Stapleton, all give fantastic performances here. I think the writing is, again, as a Wes Anderson movie can be, very well written. I've seen this movie twice at the cinemas, so for me at least, I think it's one of my favourites of this year. I really don't care, to be honest with you, what anyone else thinks or anyone else says. It's my opinion. I really like this film, I really love Wes Anderson. He'll always be my favourite director. I think he is such a very specific kind of filmmaker, and I know it's very common to say, oh, he just does the same stuff, he does it all the same times, blah blah blah. But I think there's a certain amount of his style and substance that really, albeit is common. I still think you could apply the same thing to Martin Scorsese, because he only makes gangster movies with Robert De Niro and Joe Pesci, but people don't seem to kind of swing at him like that. They don't seem to use that as a negative towards him. They just don't talk about it. Whereas Wes Anderson is people always say, oh, he has the same members of the cast, all the movies are symmetrical, everything looks the same, sounds the same, and to be fair, you're not wrong in those departments. There are a lot of cast members he uses all the time. Bill Murray has been in all but like 2 Wes Anderson movies, and he is in this one. But in recent years, he certainly decided to add a whole new set of people into his roster. The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar and Three More, pretty much every cast member in those shorts and that whole feature-length cut-together thing are all people who have never been in a Wes Anderson movie before, as far as I'm aware, except for Ray Fiennes. So that's cool. And then here you have Riz Ahmed, Mia Stapleton. You also have Michael Cera and Richard Ayoade, who was also in Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar. But again, this is his first, technically on the big screen, Wes Anderson film, because Henry Sugar was released on Netflix. And of course Michael Cera. So he does add people, while there is a lot of people he's used before. Scarlett Johansson's in this movie, but she's only really been in Asteroid City and Isle of Dogs before, so that's only 2 Wes Anderson movies. Tom Hanks and Bryan Cranston are a different can of worms. They have, to be fair, they were both in Asteroid City, they were both in Isle of Dogs, ? I don't know if Tom Hanks was, but I know Bryan Cranston was. So yeah, Benicio del Toro, as previously mentioned, was in French Dispatch. I don't think he was in Asteroid City. There you go. So it's an interesting addition to the cast, I think, of the world of Wes. And I think, again, it's time to talk about the music, as I always do in these reviews. And again, we've got a score here about Alexandre Desplat, which is, again, absolutely fantastic. But also the chosen music, so the music selections by Randall Poster here are also fantastic and really, add a whole another layer to the film. I think Desplat's score, he always gives his 100% when he comes to scoring Wes movies. But I think this is definitely one of the better ones of recent memory once again. I think obviously The Grand Budapest stands as his best Wes Anderson score, as is the film. But there's a lot to love in this score. I do think in this film, and Asteroid City particularly, he decides to do this thing where he just uses the same core, cue theme, and just use it throughout all the tracks, at least all the tracks that are available on the score albums and soundtrack albums. And for that purpose, I think it's something I really wish he'd stop doing, but I can't sit here and Desplat anymore because he's fantastic. And I will say, I think one of the best parts of French Dispatch is his score, because, again, unlike Asteroid City and this movie, he has so many variations of themes and things like that, and I think that's really a great score. The Phoenician Scheme, I really love this movie, honestly. I think, I can keep sitting here and tell you it's Wes Anderson, because it is. And I understand a lot of you who are hesitant towards the film, and I'm not going to sit here and say, go watch it because it's amazing, you'll love it. No, I love it. I encourage you to give it a try, but I'm not going to sit here and say you're going to enjoy it, because he's a very specific filmmaker that only very specific people enjoy. There's nothing wrong with that. Film is an open bucket. So all I can say is, give it a try if you're interested. Of the films showing in cinemas right now, it's certainly the most unique. I also want to point out, it's a really good time for cinemas and films right now, because we've got so much good stuff out. Sinners is still hanging about, Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, The Phoenician Scheme, Final Destination: Bloodlines, all of these absolutely fantastic movies, all showing at once. So now, more than ever, go down and watch a few good movies at your local cinema. You won't regret it, trust me. Lilo and Stitch, Karate Kid Legends has just come out, and there's so much good coming up as well, And I can't wait for so many of the upcoming movies, like 28 Years Later, Ballerina, Dangerous Animals is one that's been on my radar for a while now. Do love me some Jack Courtney, Elio, F1, Superman, all these good films that are coming up. So go support cinemas now. If you haven't had a chance, go and watch some of Wes Anderson's previous movies. Again, if I'm going to start you off on recommending certain Wes movies, you've got to start with Bottle Rocket, The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou, Darjeeling Limited, Fantastic Mr. Fox, and The Grand Budapest Hotel are interesting and probably good starting points. I mean, you can chuck all Tenenbaums in there as well, all you want. Yeah. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day, and don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye for now.